Support WrestleTalk!
It's time for AEW, formerly known as Twitter, New Japan Pro Wrestling's Forbidden Door, predictions time! Welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast. I'm Luke Owen, DAD. This is Tempest.
Hello.
Please leave a comment down below with what you think will happen on this show. Subscribe to this channel as well to give us a little thumbs up, enable notifications, and all that good jazz. And sign up for Wrestle League, where you can compete against us in predicting what's going to happen at wrestling shows, competing against multiples of thousands of other WrestleTalk fans to see if you actually know the most about what's going to happen in these predetermined shows, and you can win prizes. So sign up now.
Prizes.
We love prizes. Click the link in the video description down below, and you can sign up for Wrestle League today. So we probably would have started recording this about 10 minutes ago, but we had to try and work out some of the things on this card.
It's not been clear.
I was under the impression, after I watched Dynamite, that the trios match between the Learning Tree and Joe and Friends was no longer happening, and it was now Jericho versus Minoru Suzuki for the FTW Championship.
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at this on Wikipedia, and it's like, oh, that match is still there. And then I go to Twitter, and AEW are like, yeah, the trios match is still on. I'm like, what's going on? So then I go online, it's like, oh, that Suzuki match is happening on Dynamite.
It's not the way that I would have done this.
No, we actually joked in the office because I was next to you when you were watching that segment, and I was like, "Great, they're not doing the trios match anymore, right?"
This not quite Forbidden Door match, where I guess, according to this, potential spoilers for later in the week, it would appear that Jeff Cobb is on the team of Chris Jericho
because they need a partner. Because it's not Minoru Suzuki anymore. So Suzuki, I guess, just isn't on the card this time round. We'll get to it when we get to it, but I think that is a misstep because I think there is a good story to tell. But we'll get to that when we get to it. So yeah, this may contain some spoilers for Collision, which will be they taped after Dynamite on Wednesday, but won't be airing until Saturday. So if you want to avoid Collision spoilers, this may have Collision spoilers within there. But we have got 11 matches to cover thus far. Thus far being doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
Only one pre-show match? Ha!
Ha! Ha! I challenge you. But that pre-show match is Kris Statlander and Momo Watanabe versus Willow Nightingale and Tam Nakano.
This might be my most anticipated match on the show.
Right? Why was this like a Twitter exclusive thing?
I have no idea. And that might be a bit hyperbole because it's actually a very good card. But I love everybody involved in this match.
Yeah.
Tam Nakano on an AEW pre-show, pay-per-view, and Momo Watanabe, and also Kris Statlander and Willow Nightingale, two of my favorites in the AEW women's division in general. This is a fantastic little tag match, and I hope New York gives it all the love that it deserves.
Who you got to win?
It's a great question. I think they probably want to heat up Kris Statlander, the heel, a little bit more. We haven't seen Willow Nightingale kind of get the last laugh in very many segments. Mm-hmm. And I would like to think you'll probably see Kris Stat and Willow maybe go one-on-one at Wembley. Seems like a good time to blow off a big heated blood feud and such. So you probably don't want to have the babyfaces win now prior to that. So I will go with Kris Statlander and Momo Watanabe.
Yeah, I also got Statlander and Momo to win this one. But I think it's going to be really good. And it's great to see Stardom have a presence on this show, not only here, but also in the Toni Storm match as well, because since we've started this Forbidden Door thing, we've wanted Stardom presence on there, but certain people, I guess, just did not want to happen. Mm-hmm. And those certain people aren't there anymore, and all of a sudden the Stardom thing is happening. So
it's funny how that works.
Yeah. So it's kind of great that we are getting this. So this is like a show that's not just AEW New Japan. It's AEW New Japan, CMLL, and Stardom. It's like this ever-growing idea of Forbidden Door. Mm-hmm. I think it's very cool.
It is, and I've kind of been in two minds just about this card in general, because obviously there have been a lot of matches announced where it's like, well, what's that doing on a Forbidden Door card?
Yep.
Doesn't feel like it has as much of that Forbidden Door flavor. But you actually go through and you look at this card, and there are a number of matches on this 11-match card that do have that. It's just there are more examples this year of like, well, the world title match is Swerve and Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
Those are just 2 AEW guys. And you go down the list and you see a few more examples of things like that. The TNT ladder match has 1 New Japan guy in it, perhaps 2 if you count Leo Rush, but he's kind of in the mix. So it's been a little bit more of a difficult sell for this, look at the people from CMLL and look at the people from Stardom and such. But I think they have done a pretty good job over the last few weeks of hyping up each of the people that will be featured from those places. And you take a step back and look at this card, and most of the matches do have that sort of thing.
We have the Elite of Matthew and Nicholas Jackson and Kazuchika Okada taking on the Scissor Ace of Anthony Bowens, Max Caster, and I'm sad to say it's not Billy Gunn.
Oh, darn.
I really thought we were heading towards Billy Gunn versus Okada, but instead it's Horseshoe Tanahashi.
Ruining your fun.
Ruining my fun. I'm digging this as well because I had sort of about this in my edited review that I posted a couple of days ago, yesterday, in fact. The idea of seeing Okada and Tanahashi in the ring again is kind of cool unto itself because Okada left New Japan, so like, okay, well, that's now done. They had their final match. But now they're coming off face-to-face again. But they're very different people now.
Yeah.
Particularly Okada. So, like, this forever feud of New Japan has now got a very different wrinkle to it.
It does. We haven't seen Tanahashi against full-blown heel Okada in over a decade.
Yeah.
That was pretty much limited to the very beginning of their rivalry. So there is that wrinkle to it, as well as just this is a very different heel Okada to that heel Okada back then. And yeah, you might say that Hiroshi Tanahashi is very much over the hill and such, but I went into Dynamite this week going, how are you going to have a Forbidden Door show and not have Tanahashi on the card?
Yeah.
It just would feel like it's missing something. And thankfully, he gets added in. Granted, it's in a 6-man tag that, may or may not be to people's taste, because I don't think this Elite and Acclaimed thing has lit the world on fire by any means. But you're going to have fun interactions. The match is going to be good because look at everybody that's involved. Tanahashi and Okada standing across from each other is going to get the holy S-word chants. And you're going to have a lot of fun stuff with the Young Bucks bumping for Tanahashi at this stage in his career. So I think it's still going to be very fun. I don't know how much we're going to see of Tanahashi going forward from this point. But if they do a Tanahashi-Okada thing some point later as like a one-off special thing in AEW with this new Okada character, I think there's a lot of fun to be had from that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it could start here. I
kind of wish that it had a bit more... When I say a bit more build, I'm not talking about the Elite and Acclaimed bit. I'm talking about the Tanahashi bit because you really could have played up the idea that they're kind of fighting on the side of against the EVPs. Mm-hmm. So we've got the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling on our side. We can't have the president of AEW fighting with us, so we've got the president of a different company. Yeah. There's something like a lot of fun that you could have played around with there.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, obviously this is not the focus of the match, but I do think the Okada-Tanahashi dynamic to it is the most interesting part of this.
The bit I'm into.
And it's not the bits that have been focused on TV, as this was a surprise reveal at the end of their segment this week. So, it's not going to be that, and I think that is fine, but I do think there's a bit more mileage to be gotten out of this.
Yeah.
That being said, I think... Oh, gosh. I mean, I can see somebody on the Scissor Ace team taking the pin. Maybe not so much on the Elite side. That being said, the Young Bucks did just get pinned a week ago to, set up the tag title match. So I could kind of see this one going either way, but I think it probably makes more sense for the Elite, this trio of the Elite, to get a big win here.
I've got 2 options here. You can either have the Acclaimed pin one of the Bucks against. We've beaten you twice now before you get your tag title match, even if it is just like a roll-up thing, or you have Okada pin Tanahashi.
Yeah. I think that honestly might be the more likely scenario.
And that's the one I would do. I'd have Okada pin Tanahashi.
Yeah.
And particularly if it's like from a low blow Rainmaker situation. So I've talked myself into it. I'm gonna pick the Elite as well, specifically Okada.
Yeah.
we have that trios match that we were referencing earlier of the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho and Big Bill and Jeff Cobb, which may be something that's announced on Rampage or on Collision, taking on Samoa Joe, Hook, and Katsuyori Shibata.
My thoughts exactly.
Yeah.
Listen, when this was all getting set up and I was hearing people throw out challenges and such, Jeff Cobb said he wanted to put out an open challenge for his New Japan World TV title. And I was like, him versus the king of television, Samoa Joe, at Forbidden Door, there's an easy home run. And instead, they got roped back into this Jericho stuff.
So,
okay. Yeah.
Here's my thing with the Jericho-Suzuki thing, which I do think is the better match to put on Forbidden Door. And my reason for that is the previous 2 Forbidden Doors have been Suzuki teaming with Jericho. So you could have really played off their history and then have them as the singles match.
Yeah. I think these type of cards just look more impressive when you have guy from this company versus guy from this company in a singles match. And particularly like the first year, I think we only got like 1 or 2 of those matches. It was like Orange and Will Ospreay and Mox and Tanahashi. And that was pretty much it. So for this one to go and see finally, here's Jericho and Minoru Suzuki one-on-one, I think that would have been really cool. And instead, again, this doesn't really feel too much like a Forbidden Door type of deal.
This feels like the Dynamite match.
It does. This feels like the setup match to get to that deal, where they've kind of done this every year, where the example of throwing a little bit of Forbidden Door into these type of things last year was Shota Umino was on the Blackpool Combat Club side, you know, or Tomohiro Ishii is on the Elite side, and things like that. And sure, it accomplishes that goal, but what I've always wanted out of Forbidden Door is like the big marquee singles matches, and we've never really gotten that on that kind of level. Yeah. I think we've got a fair amount of singles matches on this show that actually do accomplish that.
I think there's a good 4, maybe 5 actually.
But I think Jericho and Suzuki would have probably like really hit that home as opposed to this trios match.
I think what kind of hits home for me is it's the same with the Elite thing.
Yeah.
The Elite thing is 6 people, only one of which is from another company.
Yeah.
This is a match where it's 6 people, only one of them's from another company. And I guess you can make the argument of like, well, Shibata sort of still feels like, you could, he still kind of feels like a New Japan guy. Okada still feels like a New Japan guy, but it doesn't have the same oomph to it. It's just one of the guys in there is from a different company.
Doesn't feel the same when everyone's going to be on the show next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then like, I just think Jericho. I think Jericho's Zinger, but we've made that point already. So I think for this one, I'm gonna go with the Team Joe. I think that's pinning Jeff Cobb as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going Team Joe on this one.
I mean, it would make me happy. I'll go with the Learning Tree team because they got to do something to make me mad on every one of these shows. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really see them beating the Jericho team at this point. Still feels a little early, as much as I'd like for them to, and to just go like, forget about it, sweep it under the rug. Who remembers the firm? Get rid of that as fast as possible. But hey-ho.
In a men's Owen Hart Cup tournament first round match, this is one of those singles matches. Guy from A versus guy from B. Bryan Danielson versus Shingo Takagi.
This is, no hyperbole, one of the biggest dream matches I have in wrestling right now. Shingo Takagi, I think, is probably the most underrated wrestler in the entire world.
Every time that man steps in the ring, it's genuinely like, oh my God, you're incredible.
I have no earthly idea why New Japan Pro Wrestling has not made this guy the top guy when you very much need one. He is that guy where you can strap the IWGP belt to and be like, he's the best wrestler in the world. Try and beat him. Yeah. Because he is. Look at his quality of work. I think putting him in the ring with Bryan Danielson is just like, that's exactly what I wanted on this card.
Yeah.
I have no earthly idea why Shingo wasn't on Forbidden Door last year. No idea whatsoever. So to see him on this card in a dream match is my most anticipated match of the whole show.
Yeah, I'm the same with you. I mean, I've got Danielson winning here to go through. Like the story of the Owen Hart tournament feels like a lot of it is around Danielson, and I can see him getting to the finals on his side of things as well. This match is going to be very, very good. Like, you know, some of the names of, like, I can't believe you weren't on the show. I feel like, why is Hiromu never on these shows?
Right!
Why is Hiromu never on these cards?
I know he was supposed to the first time and he got sick, but, like, how we haven't gotten Hiromu versus Darby Allin at this point, it feels like such an easy home run. And he's, like, been the junior champion at the appropriate time in the past. That is your junior heavyweight championship match on this You do not understand, people who are not familiar with this man. This might be my favorite wrestler on earth, and it's very sad to me that he is currently wasting away in a less than stellar New Japan, but put him on TV against Darby Allin, and everyone will remember his name until the end of time.
I was so thrilled when he was on Dynamite. I was like, great!
I woke up, saw that first thing on Tuesday morning, and just went, Hiromu! My boy!
In a singles match, it is AEW versus CMLL as MJF takes on Hechicero. I saw people were down on this when they announced this last week, but I think of all of the guys that they've brought in during the CMLL invasion, Hechicero is the one that's gotten over the most.
Absolutely.
He's the one that everyone talks about every time he's been on TV. So if I'm looking for a big-time match for MJF or on a Forbidden Door card where you're putting them against like really over people, Hechicero is my choice.
Yeah, I really don't have any qualms with this match. Like, I think it makes sense given what they've been doing. Hechicero's kind of been, you know, presented as being in the Elite's back pocket a little bit. Like, hey, we'll call on you to do some of the dirty work here.
Yeah.
You know, he's been aligned with the Gates of Agony, who have done similar things. So that sort of thing makes sense when you've got MJF going out and shooting his mouth off about the Elite. So there's not a ton of story there, but it works well enough. And I think more critically, MJF, at the tail end of his run, before he went away and lost the title and everything, was starting to get real unpopular with a portion of the fan base because the fall just wasn't good. You know, after Adam Cole got hurt, they lost all the momentum of that story that had everybody's attention.
People did not like that full gear.
No. Now he's back and he's having more regular matches, and they're going to be against guys that the internet fans love. Hence, him and Hechicero are going to go out there and have like a 4.5-star match, and everyone's going to be like, God damn, MJF's great. Mm-hmm. This is the, hey, everyone, look how great MJF is. We're going to put him in the ring with one of the best technical wrestlers in the world, and they're going to have a great little match.
It's the reminder tour.
Absolutely, and I think that's very much warranted, because, I mean, we remember that MJF's great, but you need to see it again after such a long layoff, and I think this match is going to be that. I don't think there's any question who's going to win.
No, I've got MJF.
MJF's going to win, but I expect this to be like the sleeper hit of the weekend.
Absolutely. For the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, it is Jon Moxley defending against former champion Tetsuya Naito.
Feels a lot more like an IWGP Heavyweight Championship match that we got last year. Mm-hmm. Sonata and Jack Perry, before Jack Perry was over.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You know?
I don't know where I'm going with this one. Like, do you keep the belt on Mox for a little bit longer?
Personally, I would.
I would too. Or if you're looking at, okay, so MJF's winning, Danielson's winning, and you've probably got a few other people beating some of the New Japan talent. Do you want to give them one of the wins? Mm-hmm. And Naito wins the belt back on this show.
It's one of those things, and something that Naito said very recently makes me believe that actually will happen, is he did an interview and said, if I lose this match to Jon Moxley, he can have my spot in the G1.
Ah, okay.
And I don't think Jon Moxley's doing the G1, because it's during the summer. You got to build Wembley. Jon Moxley's obviously going to be a very big part of that. That makes me believe, like, feel like Naito might be winning the belt back. Personally, that aside, I feel like it's a bit too soon. If I was booking all of this, and granted, I wouldn't have done their first match so soon after winning it, but I probably would have had Shota Umino win the G1 and have Shota Umino and Jon Moxley be the Tokyo Dome main event.
That's what I thought they would do.
I thought that's exactly what they were going to do. But I don't know. Like, the pieces aren't lining up that way currently, and I could always be wrong. They still might do that. But it seems with all these different bits that Naito might just get the belt back and have this be like, you know, that was a fun little 2-3 month run for Mox. Personally, I just want to see him do more with it. I think Moxley in New Japan is even better than he is in AEW.
Yeah.
I think that's like his perfect home. I think his work before the pandemic in New Japan is probably the best work he's actually done since leaving WWE. It just clicked. He had all the right matchups at that point, and he's still had a number of really good ones here. But this like bruising foreigner that fits that mold of like a Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody, Vader type guy who can come in and just be mean and nasty. That's kind of what I want out of the IWGP title right now, because it's had a few lackluster years and Jon Moxley has proven to be one of the better, top level wrestlers in the world. That being said, it just feels like it's lining up for Naito to get it back. And you brought up, the who's winning what matches on the card issue here. And I think we may see some of that come into focus a little bit more in just a moment. But I think the stars are kind of aligning for Naito to win the belt back. We've not really seen a big title change on one of these shows before, and this could be that.
And that's the other reason I had for it is you're right. Like, we don't often do title changes on this show because it's not really a show for title changes.
Yeah.
But it would be very surprising then if you did do one.
Yeah, we say that. Will Ospreay won the IWGP US title back last year.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
but
that's fair.
Still, like, you're not seeing the top titles change hands on this show.
Yeah.
And there's every chance that both of them could change hands on this one.
I'm going with Naito.
I'll go with Moxley just for a difference of opinion and maybe what I want to see more, but my head is saying Naito.
In a singles match, it is Zack Sabre Jr. versus Orange Cassidy.
All right, Orange Bollocks.
I am very much looking forward to this. I
can't
can't wait for this. I loved the match that Zack had with Kyle O'Reilly on Dynamite this week. I am loving Orange Cassidy's work. Zack is just like one of my all-time faves. Nice bloke. I can't wait for this because it's going to be like they'll have that speed of Orange Cassidy, the comedy of Orange Cassidy, and that technical, no, I'm just going to shut you down of Zack Sabre Jr. I can't, and I'm going with Zack for the win.
I am as well. That's where I was saying, like, you might see more New Japan guys get
absolutely.
wins on this show than maybe you would expect. I think Zack beats him here. This was the match I was hoping we were going to see last year before it was made into a four-way.
I thought we were, yeah.
And I think, a lot of that comes down to, well, you've got the politics of it, and you can't just beat Zack Sabre Jr. like that on an AEW show. Now, I think you have Orange Cassidy in a position where he can lose a match like this. There might be some Don Callis interference. Trent Beretta might get involved, and you can give Zack Sabre Jr. a big win here. This, to me, is like the best kind of Orange Cassidy match, where he's just going to be his Orange Cassidy self, and across the ring, you have a smug, arrogant heel who's just going to be like, no, I'm just going to kill you, because how dare you be a joke where I'm being the best wrestler in the world, but Orange Cassidy's actually great, so just beating him is no easy task. I think his best work has come against people like Pac and Will Ospreay. Maybe it's a British thing, but I expect this to again be one of the best matches of the weekend. Shocker. I think Zack's going to win it.
Yeah. For the AEW Women's World Championship, Timeless Toni Storm defends against Mina Shirakawa.
It's a very interesting match, this.
Isn't it? I'm really looking forward to this one. I think this has been one of the better built matches on this Forbidden Door card.
That was the point I wanted to make about this.
I think they've done a really good story with this, and they've been telling it over a series of months as well since Mariah May has come in. It is
Mina.
Since Mariah.
Since Mariah came in, that's way longer, but yes.
And then now with Mina as well, and it's just been building and building and building, and now we're finally getting to this match. It's the perfect time to be doing this as well. And this all does come down to who is Mariah going to pick.
Yes.
She has to pick which one of these girls is her best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And after what happened on Dynamite, maybe this is what is going to lead to her really getting back with Toni Storm, pushing away her past of Venus Club and just going solely with, and I'm going all in on Toni Storm. I'm using that intentionally because she then wins the Owen, and it's those two against each other at Wembley.
I think you have taken pretty much every point that I was going to make right out of my mouth. I want to give them credit because I think I said even like 2 months ago, like we were just in the office and I went, I think this is the Forbidden Door match. Yeah. And they're starting the build now, 2-3 months ago, which feels out of place for Forbidden Door standards because everybody likes to say, like, you get to Forbidden Door season and you hit pause on everything else and here's some cross-promotional stuff. Whereas this has been like, no, this is the story of the women's division built over a long period of time. And I find like credit where credit is due. That's what you want to see out of a show like this. It's what people have wanted to see out of the women's division for a long time. So thumbs up. This should be a very good match in itself because they're both great. Mina Shirakawa, I think, has done absolutely phenomenally with the TV time she's given.
Oh, yeah.
Even in, like, the contract signing segment from a week ago where she's going out there speaking a language that's not her first language and doing a fantastic job setting up, like, an angle here, not just saying a few generic, I'm going to beat you lines. She's been the star of all this to me. And I think you're right. The Dynamite angle from this week with the champagne bottle getting broken over Mariah's head is going to eventually lead to Mariah siding with Toni, winning the Owen, having their big match at Wembley, and maybe Mariah winning the world title off of her.
I think that's where we're headed. While that is very exciting, and I love that because that is lovely long-term storytelling, and it builds to a great moment for Mariah winning the belt in London. In the back of my head, I am going like, yeah, but when's Jamie Hayter coming back?
Right?
And Toni kind of said, I'm having Jamie at Wembley this year. I didn't have her at Wembley last year. So I'm like, oh, what's Jamie gonna do then?
Maybe you do that match and Jamie Hayter's the surprise pop afterwards.
Yeah, it could be.
You
Yeah,
know?
it could be.
Because, my God, you want to hear 80,000 people absolutely lose their ass? Holy smokes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to this match, though.
So you going Toni Storm?
I'm going Toni Storm.
Same here. In a winner-takes-all match for both the AEW TBS Championships and the New Japan Strong Women's Championships, it is Mercedes Moné taking on Stephanie Vaquer. Obviously, one of these belts was a belt that was designed for Monet to win.
Like the writing's on the wall here a little bit.
A little bit. It's just like, yeah, it's about time we just put that belt back on her. Well, actually, not even back on her. Putting it on her.
Yeah.
We made it for her to win. It's kind of like the Trios Championships. Like,
yeah.
Once the Elite came back, it was like, well, these belts were made for them. We should really just put them on them now.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to this match as well. This should be very well wrestled is the thing where I think Mercedes' strength has always been in the ring.
Agreed.
And that's not to say that, she's a bad talker or anything, and she's obviously a very good character, but she is on kind of her own tier in terms of in-ring work. And seeing this kind of match, this is very fun because we've seen this match before. It was on the New Japan show a year ago and wasn't the match of the weekend in the sense that people were thinking about or talking about because it was all building to the Mercedes and Willow match and then was remembered for a different reason. But now it's being properly like promoted and built ahead of time. This is supposed to be one of the big top level matches of the weekend because you're going to see a title change one way or the other. This has been something that they've very much been hyping up as such. And yeah, Mercedes Moné being your traveling New Japan, strong women's champion is what they've always wanted out of that belt.
Absolutely.
I don't think a full-time New Japan schedule was ever really going to be in the cards for her. And we saw, like, after, 3-4 months as the New Japan women's champion, the IWGP women's champion, she lost the belt and then wasn't really on the Japan shows anymore. But being an AEW talent who's also got a New Japan belt, who can make appearances every once in a while, I think is very much more her speed.
Yeah.
It works around her commitments and that sort of thing. And I think that can really help, not that New Japan's US shows are in dire need or anything, but it's another added attraction to those shows that I think will really help. So I'm obviously going with Mercedes on this one, but this should be another very good match.
I think this match is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a really good match. Kind of like we were saying earlier with the that's the sleeper match.
Yeah.
I feel like this is as well, only because it hasn't had, it's not really had the build that Storm and Shirakawa has. You know what I mean? Like that has had like weeks and weeks and weeks. This has had one stare down and a couple of video promos. And Monet went down to CMLL over the weekend. It kind of needed just a little bit more to it.
It's not a hot angle.
That's it, yeah.
But I think it should be a very good match.
That's exactly it. I agree. This is an interesting one. It's a ladder match for the vacant AEW TNT Championship. It is Konosuke Takeshita versus Mark Briscoe versus Jack Perry versus Dante Martin versus Leo Rush. It says here on Wikipedia versus El Phantasmo. That might be happening on Rampage or on Collision. Again, apologies for the spoilers. Okay. My head said Jack Perry.
Yeah.
Because that's the elite thing. My heart says Mark Briscoe.
Oh, wouldn't it be nice?
Oh, wouldn't it be nice if Mark won this?
Yeah.
He had that promo a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite when he was like really making Kyle O'Reilly pop. And I had this moment, I just read it and I was like, I'd put the belt on him.
Yeah.
I'd push him to the moon. He's a special talent. So I really want Mark to win, and I'm going to be very much cheering for Mark to win. But I think it's probably more likely going to be Jack.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if Jack ended up with the TNT title before Copeland got hurt.
I think that probably was going to happen.
You know, like this kind of seems like it was written in the stars. That's kind of the perfect thing for him. Outside of the FTW title, he's not won a singles title in AEW proper. This feels like the right progression for him.
Yeah.
You know, the EVPs with the TNT, the corporate television station belt on one of their guys feels the most appropriate. In a Forbidden Door sense, this probably feels like the actual the least Forbidden Door match on the show. It's, you know, if we're led to believe this, El Phantasmo is in it, and I think Lio Rush kind of skirts the boundary of both, but you're not getting like any of the big name New Japan, you know, Japanese talent coming over. None of the juniors.
Why isn't Takahashi in this match?
Right?
Why isn't Hiromu in this match?
You want to sunset flip powerbomb through a ladder to the floor? My God. You know, that would be his spot to shine. But it'll be good. I'm kind of burnt out on ladder matches.
Yeah, you've been real down on them as of late, which I think is actually fair because it feels like we get them on every pay-per-view now.
Like maybe every pay-per-view or every other pay-per-view where like I didn't want the Young Bucks and FTR match to be a ladder match. There was a 4-way tag title ladder match on Full Gear last year, and I said that, and you went, there was? Because they all just kind of blend together at that point.
That was one at WrestleMania.
Yeah. There's one at WrestleMania that I don't really remember hardly anything from outside of maybe a couple spots. And this got announced, and I just went, why couldn't this just be like your 4-way on the show? You know, they love doing 4-ways the last few years for these belts, but it's a way to get more people on. Dante Martin and Lio Rush are going to do some crazy stuff.
I mean, you don't want to kill the gimmick too much. You could have done this as their gauntlet thing.
Sure.
You know, where it's just like they've got this casino gauntlet thing. I think I'd have just done that because then you could have had a load of you could have brought some guys from CMLL in and stuff like that. Mystico exactly can come in there, and all of a sudden it's just like, oh, I didn't even know what locker room's coming out next to challenge for this belt.
That's a really good idea, and it would take away like the qualifying match thing they've had going on TV for the last few weeks. But like, you know, you could have a few people declare for the thing and whatnot. But yeah, I think that is honestly a very good idea.
And you could have had some real like a fun cameo from like a wrestling legend or something. Like do you remember when they did the Ring of Honor? I think it was the Ring of Honor Battle Royal. Their Royal Rumble
G1 Supercard.
Oh, I might be thinking of that one. I was thinking of a different one when Glacier came out.
Right.
And it was just like, what? Like Glacier's in this match? Like you could have had that sort of level of like, that's a weird thing to have in this match.
I was thinking of the G1 Supercard Honor Rumble where the Great Muta was the final entrant.
Yeah, exactly that.
You know, you could have had something real fun in something like that. And that's not to say, like, the ladder match will be good.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good match. I'm taking Jack Perry to win. But I do think the gauntlet thing is a much more over concept right now. And you could have done some fun stuff with it.
I'm going with Mark Briscoe.
Hell yeah.
I'm going with my heart on this one. I want Mark to win.
Will it to happen?
Well, speaking of wills, for the AEW World Championship, it is Will Ospreay taking on Swerve Strickland. So this is an AEW match, on a Forbidden Door card.
Well, Will was in New Japan as of earlier this year.
We were talking about earlier with like Okada and Shibata and stuff. It's like, well, they sort of feel like they are connected to New Japan in a way. I am so excited for this match. I think they've done a great job with the build for this. And I am so torn on where I'm putting my prediction. I think it's Swerve because I think this is going to be one of those matches where it's all about part 2.
Interesting.
And it's going to be about the rematch, and the rematch will be where Will wins the belt. How you get there, I don't know. Because the alternative is I'm going to talk myself out of that as well. Here's my thinking. I think Hangman Page is the wild card in the Owen.
I think that's a smart Decision?
Hangman Page wins the Owen. So your main event of All In is Hangman versus Swerve for the AEW World Championship.
It feels right.
Yeah, right? Because the alternative is Will wins here, and Will's the main event, and it's Will versus Danielson, and Danielson wins the Owen.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those feel like very real possibilities, and I don't think either of them are bad ideas.
Yeah.
But it's just which one do you go with? I don't think it's the time for Swerve to lose the belt, is point number one.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's not the right time for Will to win the belt, is point number two. So I'm gonna stick with Swerve on this one, but I'm not in the going in Raw parlance, I'm not putting a lot of confidence points on this.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me explain my thinking behind this, because I'm also going to go with Swerve. Mm-hmm. I completely agree that those seem like the two possibilities for the Wembley main event. You either do Swerve and Hangman, or you do Ospreay Danielson too. However, in terms of the story of this match, I think what we've been building to over the last few weeks in particular, and really since Will has gotten there, has been the story of him hesitating. His hesitation when using the Tiger Driver. And in contrast, Swerve's lack of hesitation. Because he is a killer, and I think he's, this guy who says, even though some people might want to see a bit more of that, like, ooh, he breaks into people's houses and, smashes and leaves glass and blood or whatever.
Cuts promos on babies.
Sure. That being said, Swerve is the one who doesn't hesitate in this match. We've seen, building up to this, that Will has said he doesn't need the Don Callis family. And Don Callis in particular has been the one who's like, you gotta hit this move. You gotta send him to the hospital, end his career. You could do it, blah, 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 blah. And Ospreay's been very hesitant to that. I think you are going to see a bit in this match where Will hooks the Tiger Driver, doesn't do it, and it costs him the match. And this will be the one where, maybe Swerve is a little bit underhanded of doing it because he's not the white meat, clear-cut babyface that Will is at this juncture. And this will be what leads to Will's split from the Don Callis family.
That's good. Yeah.
I think you need the split from the Don Callis family before Will wins the title.
Agreed.
I think this is going to be the catalyst event that leads to all of those things. Mm-hmm. And I think them setting up Will and Swerve as friends who sure are going at each other right now, but they are friendly and have a good past and a relationship built, that Ospreay's going to hesitate, Swerve isn't. And that's going to be the difference in their characters, and that's going to be the difference in this match. And I think it leads to more, and obviously I don't think it's Swerve's time to lose the belt, still feels too early, and we're going to get them and Hangman at Wembley.
Yeah.
I think the story lends itself to Swerve hanging on to the title at this point, whereas Will's just the best, and you could put the title on him tomorrow and he'll take it and run with it, and it would still work. I think the story lends itself to Swerve retaining.
I can't remember, was it you that pitched this, or was it Ollie that pitched this, that Swerve wins with the Tiger Driver?
I haven't thought of that. That's interesting.
Must have been Ollie that said that then, because I like that idea of Will can't pull the trigger on that move, but Swerve can.
Yeah.
Because Swerve doesn't care. I love that as a finish idea. I think that's really great.
Yeah. Again, I think that that would be the perfect finish to the storyline of the match that I just laid out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That is our predictions for Forbidden Door. Get yours in the comments down below. What do you think is going to happen on this show? We'll be back on Monday with a review of this show. Yourself and Pete will be going through this match by match here on the WrestleTalk Podcast channel. So there'll be no review of SmackDown on Monday, I'm afraid. And then on Tuesday, we'll be back with the Raw podcast.
It'll be 2 years since I made my debut over here.
That's right, it is the real Forbidden Door.
The real Forbidden Door. So it warms my heart to be part of this whole review deal. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you don't miss it.
We'll see you then. I've been Luco in DAD. That's been Tempest. Jam that jam.
Goodbye.